Just take a step back and look at where we are. In 2004, when the Apollo Alliance was first pulled together, same year that the Cummings Foundation funded the Ella Baker Center to do this thing called Dreaming Oakland, which eventually became some urban green job stuff, there was a question. And the question was, is there going to be a green economy? Will there be a clean energy economy? At that time, just 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the question was, will there be a transition at all? Well, the answer to that question is yes. We can affirmatively say there will be a green economy, there will be a clean energy economy. But now there are 3 questions that we are being forced to grapple with. First of all, will it be big enough and strong enough to avoid an eco-apocalypse anyway? And there's a robust policy conversation about that. It's called Copenhagen, it's called cap and trade. How it all shakes out, we don't know. But there is a policy conversation about that big question. Yes, you see the motion, we've got $80 billion, you see China rushing in. Yes, there's going to be a green economy, but will it be enough to avoid a catastrophe? That's the question now. Secondly, will America get our fair share of the green jobs that are created in the green economy globally? What proportion will be here? What proportion will be in Asia and overseas? But there is a big, robust policy discussion about that. We have the wind companies saying they want a renewable, and solar saying they want a renewable energy standard to make sure we're producing the jobs here. We have a big discussion now about trade policy with China. Big, robust discussion on that question as well. The third question, though, which is what I want to talk about. Yes, we'll have a green economy. Big, robust policy discussion about how big it'll be, how strong it'll be, how fast we'll get here. Big, robust policy discussion emerging now about will we get our fair share. But the third question is, will all Americans have a fair shot at America's fair share? And there is not yet a big, robust policy discussion about that. Will all Americans have a fair shot at America's fair share? And I think that is going to be a critical piece of the puzzle here that actually helps to solve the rest of it. If all Americans are likely to get a fair shot at America's fair share, then we're going to be a lot more aggressive about getting the renewable energy standard in place. We're going to be a lot more aggressive about getting smart climate policy in place because everybody's going to see that they've got a dog in this race. This is a big issue. And I want to just hit some numbers, which we haven't hit hard. I just want to hit them. They're uncomfortable numbers, but they're important numbers. If we imagine that the green workforce is going to be trained, skilled, prepared, hopefully well organized, then what we're imagining is a greening of the labor movement as well. And right now we still have not achieved what we would like to achieve as a country within our labor movement. Just for instance, of the construction workforce, women are only 10% in terms of basic construction craft. To get painful numbers, women are still only 2.7%. African Americans make up 12% of the 2007 workforce, only 6.5% of workers in the basic construction crafts. You would expect to see more than that by now, given the amount of work that's been put in. And the Hispanic community, Latino community, actually overrepresented, thankfully, within the trades, but disproportionately in the lower end, lower skilled, lower quality work. So so one then imagines that if our skilled workers, our best trained, best organized workers are going to help build the green economy, we may wind up building a green economy that Dr. King would not be proud of. We may wind up building a green economy that the heroes and the sheroes of the last century would not be proud of. And that will be our fault. One of the things we have to remember is we're actually building something new here. So if we fail to get across the finish line on equity and inclusion and fairness, we can't blame our grandparents. We can't say, well, those people in the South, we can't do what we'd like to do and blame somebody else. It's up to us to sort this stuff out. Now, the good news is there's actually some forward motion, some positive progress that can be reported. Not the least of which is Secretary Hilda Solis's great work by taking the Green Jobs Act that so many of us here worked on and dreamed up and loved and hugged and got across the finish line with Speaker Pelosi's great work on the House side. But in the original Green Jobs Act 2007, which, by the way, George W. Bush signed into law, people forget that, since bipartisanship is kind of the rage. We started there, actually. In the original Green Jobs Act, there was something called Pathways Out of Poverty. The idea was that we would actually, in the very first time we ever codified the term green jobs in federal law was the Green Jobs Act, and there was a piece of that was called Pathways Out of Poverty. So from the very beginning, this notion that we wanted to make sure that the rungs of opportunity on that green ladder went all the way down to the people who most needed new hope and new help was written right into the law. But unfortunately, 2008, it wasn't funded, so in 2009, the Obama administration stepped in and put $500 million on the table for the Green Jobs Act, took out the requirement for, I forgot what the percentage was, that percentage requirement for Pathways Out of Poverty, knowing that Hilda Solis would be able to, without being constrained, be able to establish a good program that would actually be effective, which we just heard about. That's good. That means that right out of the box, the first funded Green Jobs effort actually takes us into account because of our leadership. But we still don't have the policy tools. And so I want to just suggest a few, and then we'll make it a part of the conversation going forward. There's an organization called Green for All, which I'm happy to still be associated with, that has put forward and is putting forward the idea of green construction careers demonstration projects. And this goes to your point, Andy, about what can we do right away. In the upcoming jobs bill, we hope to see a green construction careers demonstration project that will let targeted efforts go forward to target communities, to target disadvantaged workers, and give them that extra support to become a part of this green economy. One of the, I think, most important things that we can say about that stuff is it's already working at local level. It isn't something that somebody's dreaming up in Washington, D.C. saying, hey, let's go do it. We have folks in Los Angeles, Oakland, and other places that already are doing some of this stuff. In Los Angeles, with similar programs, we've got targeted workers being employed for 35% of all the worker hours on some key construction projects. Port of Oakland, 31% of all worker hours. A similar program has created opportunities for 900,000 hours of work at the port. So we've got some wisdom at the grassroots. What we don't have yet is a robust federal policy suite of tools to get the wisdom and the smarts that's happening at the local level all across the country. The last thing I just want to throw out there, more as a slogan than as an actual proposal, is it might be helpful to have either green opportunity zones or green enterprise zones or green empowerment zones or some kind of program that would help employers, give employers tax relief and incentives and support to hire people who have disadvantages, who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, or to locate in communities like Appalachia, like Watts, like Oakland, like Newark, New Jersey, that need that kind of extra support. But what I want to argue is that if we don't start having the robust policy conversation right now about inclusion and about equal opportunity in the green economy, I think not only is that a policy failure, it's likely to lead to a political failure, which will ensure an economic and ecological failure.